from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me from the West Coast of the United States, Anya Cheng. She's the founder and CEO of Taelor. Anya, as I was explaining to you, the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves, right? So it's like more natural, more spontaneous. So tell us more about you, your journey, and what you're currently up to, and then we're going to take the discussion from there. So the floor is yours.
Hi, this is Anya Cheng from Silicon Valley, and I'm now founder and CEO of Taelor. We use AI to pick clothes for men, so no more shopping or laundry. And then we send people real clothes for them to wear for a couple weeks. Once they are done, they can buy the clothes or return the dirty clothes and get next shipments, like Netflix for outfits. And before starting the companies, I was at big tech company like Meta before, help them to build out Facebook, Instagram shopping. Was a head of product at emerging markets at eBay, help them to build out new business in the US, new market in Latin America, Africa, Asia. Was senior director at McDonald's, help them build out food delivery business when Uber Eats just started, and help Target, the competitor of Walmart, to build out their tech office here in Silicon Valley. I'm excited to share more and learn more about also what's going on too.
Great. Thank you very much, Anya. And what a wonderful, experience you have. And thank you for making the time for me today. Anya, it's a traditional question I ask founders usually. What was the aha moment? Like, how did you see this opportunity to start Taelor? Like, what was like the motive? What, I would say, things that no one have done it before maybe, or maybe it was done not completely in the way that you envision it. What was the story behind Taelor?
Yeah, when I was working for Meta and eBay, I was usually the one of few female leaders on the team. And I didn't come from engineering background. I went to like 5 different coding classes, but I cannot code. But over time, from my background as a product manager, data scientist, I became the head of product and leading technology teams. And I feel a little bit imposter syndrome as immigrant in the US from Taiwan. So I want to look good. I try some subscription boxes like Stitch Fix, but you have to buy from every single shipment before you wear. So you have to think. And I didn't want to think, I didn't want to own that much stuff. So I tried some rental company like Newly, Armour, or Rent a Runway. Those are women's rental companies that you can rent clothes, but they are thousands of garments. You have to browsing through them. And it was a aha moment that I realized most fashion company are for people who are into fashion, not for lazy people or busy people who are just need to look good. Sales guy, single guy, pastor, professor, recruiter, CTOs, but I'm not into fashion. So there was a moment I realized that, hey, maybe lazy economy is there, sharing economy there. Why don't we help people to use AI to style them and then send them real clothes for them to rent and then help to resolve the problem that 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill. And that was why Taelor was born.
Amazing. I love these stories, Anya, usually. And it's uh, fascinating how you came up with this idea. And I like when you said, like, you're not coming from a fashion background, but you saw the pain that usually I can relate also, honestly, myself. Now, when we talk about, innovation and, uh, launching products, and you have done it, in big giants like, Facebook, Meta, and, others. So how did you approach, this, knowing that you're not at, these big companies and you might have like now resource constraints, to come up with the product, build it, and take it to the market. So I'm curious to know, what's the approach that you took that allowed you to, despite being a startup, to take this to the market and get it in front of the, masses.
In fact, my past experiences had the product and leading technology team help a lot. I basically use agile, like the minimum viable product. So we start with a landing page with no feature behind. You just there's a box. They say, hey, if you are interested in this amazing service, there's someone pick for clothes for you and then send you real clothes for you to wear for a couple of weeks. No commitment to buy. And like try before weeks before you buy. If you like it, put on your email. We got a lot of email coming in, but I didn't know, wasn't sure if those were people who are really interested. So it was a few years ago when it was during Thanksgiving time. There was a guy email me say, "Hey, I'm on your wait list. I'm really eager to get your service, and please bump me up to the wait list." I ignored it. I thought like there's no way we were nobody. We just launched this random landing page. It must be a scam. So and then a month after, right before Christmas, the guy called me. Somehow the guy actually added me on LinkedIn. His name is Michael. He lives in San Diego. And after that, he found my phone number. He called me right before Christmas. And I picked up the phone call again. I thought this guy must be a scam. Like who really want the service so badly? We are nobody. He's like, I am Michael from San Diego. I'm a real estate agent. Please bump me up to your wait list. I have been waiting for a while. He thought it was too popular on the wait list. In fact, which we were not ready. So I hung up the phone. I checked. There was really a Michael on the wait list. So went to department stores and bought a whole bunch of stuff during Christmas sale. Went to the post office, put them into the post office box, and ship it to him. And start from there. We got 100 customers. Then we try the service, and then we start iterated and build out the business plan based on customers say what they were looking for. And using the plan, we raised $2 million, and that's how we started.
That's fascinating. So finding the product market fit was like something, I would say, like I'm interested because sometimes I interview founders who are like first time founders and they didn't have the experience that you had, Anya. And then sometimes I introduce, I interview the people who would like, maybe they were practitioners and then they start their own business. So for you, because you were focusing on product, and by the way, people knows now on the show, I'm a little bit biased to product people because, anyone who does product management usually like you need to talk to a lot of people, right? So you need to have multiple stakeholders, always communicating with them. How that career in product and innovation helped you also in shaping the company as is it today?
Yeah, I think so. Constantly thinking about the minimal viable product and the hypothesis, right? So if you think of the rental industry pioneer, Rent the Runway, which is a public company, now competitor with Armour, were newly by Urban Outfitter, which is a unicorn in just 4 years. And so they start with a hypothesis that people rent clothes. So what they did is they screenshot a whole bunch of image on the website, they email a whole bunch of people who are going party and ask them, would you like to rent clothes? Because if they don't rent clothes, then there's no point to build AI or buying clothes or having a store or building apps, right? So validating the hypothesis, like when Amazon started the Echo, there was a human behind when you talk to play music and app like Echo get back to you on that. So because if people don't talk to machine, there's no point to build Echo. There's no point to build AI. So I think it was a lot of make sure that we know the hypothesis and then validating over time for even small feature like, hey, we want to launch a feature that call shipping overlap. So when customer return the clothes, then right today we trigger the shipment right away. So they get clothes within about 2 to 3 days. And instead of doing so, why not we ship early so then there's really no gap, not any even days that the customer won't have any clothes. So, but before we launch a feature, why not just using simple MVP that the customer can text you and say, hey, I'm returning in 2 days. Let's ship it to him and see how it goes. and before we launch the feature. So just constantly make sure that we are know what hypothesis we're trying to validate, and then so then we build out the feature or the tests to make sure that we know customer really want the feature.
It's like applying the lean methodologies, at its best, I would say. And I love these stories, Anya, because you can't imagine how much time I spend with people, and telling them, if you want to start, if you haven't been a founder, you didn't work like with some other startups, you need to go and learn about exactly what you mentioned, the hypotheses. Yeah, it's nothing wrong to have an idea and say, hey, I think like this is something that customers will like. That's fine. But if you don't go and try, and it's like, instead of building the whole thing and then ship it, and then like it's no one wants that. So yeah, go with the minimal viable product, find the product market fit, and then go and do this. So I love, as I said, to hear these stories. Now I want to ask you something about growth and scale, right? So uh how much also the experience that you had at eBay, McDonald's, and Facebook. So how much that experience helped you, and what are like some of the GTM lessons that you applied, I would say, uh, to grow Taylor to the revenue that you achieved?
Yeah, I think so. Between having an MVP to getting product market fit is actually a long journey. Many company even still finding product market fit before they go IPO. And the best way to do so is obviously very important to make sure that you constantly iterate it and really solving a real problem. So for example, if you look at that Amazon's joke, like when they just started AI with a truck, they thought that, hey, will be great that the truck will have AI to detect the driver in the back of truck, so that the light will go on when the driver need the light, and when the driver isn't there, the detection of AI will find out there's no one, and then will shut down the light. It seems a really obvious problem to solve and simple solution to solve that. They did that, but unfortunately, they didn't realize that when they can detect there's somebody, it's during the day because there's a light. So then the AI will detect, hey, there's a human driver in the truck, turn on the light, but it's in the day, so they don't need a light, right? And vice versa. In the evening, they couldn't see the camera couldn't see the driver, so they didn't turn on the light, which is the time they actually need a light. So it's really important to think through the real problem and then also identify the solution that really solve the problem. So for example, when I was at eBay, we it was an era that AI wasn't that popular, but we still want to use AI. So we thought that would be great to have people to take a picture of the item. AI will write everything of the items, and they can post it without doing much writings for the product. We launched a feature, but unfortunately, not a lot of people actually using that. On the one hand, because at that time AI was a little bit less trustworthy, but on the other hand, we realized most of people who sell product, they really care about what they are selling. So they are willing to spend time and double check, make sure they get the perfect description, so then they can get the perfect price and the selling price of the product. So end up we found out the feature wasn't solving a really pinpoint. Or another example, when I was at Target, our counterpart team, they were managing the iPhone. So they were thinking, hey, why not when people go to the store, the iPhone should become an in-store GPS, because moms tend to miss one thing when they were in the store. And then they came out of the store, they thought, oh, I forgot the one thing. So it will be great. The iPhone become an in-store GPS. You put on what you want to shop. You go to the store. Now the store GPS can tell you turn right, turn left. You never miss an item. They launch a feature. Not a lot of people using that. Why? Because most of mom, they have been going to the same store for 10 years. So, and mom going to a store like going to a department store to wander around to get lost. They like the shopping experience. Oh, how about this? How about this? They will shop plenty of stuff that they were not planning to buy. And the GPS took away all the fun and the value prop of the store. So no one liked to use that. So it's important to know if your product really solve a real problem. Like at Taylor, we help people to do no more shopping or laundry, and help the inventory that were going to be burned and actually to become a real new channel to monetize that.
Right. Fantastic, insight you shared, Anya. Now, something you also mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and I know like people usually they have sometimes these I would call moments where um, they say, you know what, like, yeah, the data is showing me something, but I have this gut feeling that um, I need to follow, what my feelings and not only the data. So did you have any moments where, you had to do this balance between, relying on data because people do the data driven decision versus making a bold, move because you had the feeling or intuition that if I do this, this will be a success. And I'm asking this whether with Taylor or whether, something you have done before.
Yeah, yeah. I think all the time because if you only follow the data, you'll become a horrible company. So we talk about the case at Meta. When I was at Meta, there was a feature called 10 years today ago 10 years ago today.
Yeah.
So you probably remember you will show, oh amazing, you see you are so young, or hey the kids were so little. It was a great feature for most of people, but it will be a horrible feature if you actually lost your loved ones 10 years ago, right? Every year you're being reminded that this horrible day. So it's a horrible feature in that scenario. However, they know about this but for many years they didn't fix it because for a data-driven company like that, how many people have that scenario? It's pretty small. So if you only look at a number, you will never fix a feature for those people who suffer with that feature. So as a result, it was there for a couple of years, even being complain. So many times you do have to balance of being a data-driven company or doing something right that you think is right for the customer, for your user, for your stakeholders. So I would say, yes, I think it's important to use your brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this approach, honestly. I want to ask you also, Anya, which is something very important, especially when you start, your company. And I think many people struggle probably in that part, which is building teams, right? So what are like some of the non-negotiable, for example, when you decided to hire some product talents to come and join you on this journey? Is there like something you say like if this, you know, trait is not there, it's a no for me? Are like some, non-negotiable for you when you hire your product team?
Yeah, I think so. When I was thinking of hiring, we don't hire like a NBA's all-star team. If you look at NBA championship team and all-star teams are group of people who are very, very good, but all-star game isn't great, right? But a championship team, probably only one of few like superstar, but the game is amazing because they work like team. So what kind of people we hire is always almost like the puzzle. Like, hey, if I already have this business very savvy guy and then this very tech back end guy. Now I'm should be looking for the front end guy with a little bit more technical architecture background versus vice versa. If we are missing a guy who can communicate very well, I think we really need someone on the team. So I think the first thing is to look at what's missing on your team to be a great team that can win, right? Because the end goal is for the team to win. It's really hard to keep talents if your team is not winning, right? So no player want to play for the losing team, no matter how great or how much that he and she can showcase himself or herself. Right. So I think first is looking at what's missing on the team. And secondly, I think its cultural fit is extremely important. For example, we are hiring at Taylor. So any AI engineer, machine learning engineer, software engineers, and listen up. Like Taylor, if you were looking for a company who are like backed by the early investors of Hello Kitty, Spotify, Facebook, and founder of YouTube, then you should look into that. But our culture, for example, as startup, is we move extremely fast, and the rule constantly change. these months or next these 6 months, you might be really focused on this consumer product. Next 6 months, you are really focused on this AI feature. Next six
Mm-hmm.
months, you are really thinking about how to make sure these feature can be monetized and really driving revenue for the company. So it changes all the time. So people who can self motivated because everyone work remotely, while people who can also constantly embrace of change are great fit for startups. So look into the culture of the company. The good sides always come with the best side, vice versa. Like when I was working for example, when working for Meta always looking for people who can build and ship something, make impact within 6 months. If it's more than that, then because your performance review pretty much decide you will stay or leave the company, and performance review is every 6 months. While people in Google at the time were mostly shipping a product every 2 years. So they are looking for people who think big, like moonshots, but then can also do something really impactful for a lot longer period of time. While, for example, at McDonald's, a lot of powers are is a decentralized company. We have CEO in different country. They own their P&L, and many of the store are owned by franchisees. So this decentralized company, you need a lot of communication to the stakeholder to get buy-in. So if you hate communication, hate coordinations and negotiation, probably not a great place for you. Or if a Target, for example, is a company very, very proud, they are very good in building high quality stuff, but there's are people who usually there for a long time, and it's a little bit harder for brand new things or innovation thing or move extremely fast. And so you got to show your face and talk to people all the time and being friend with other department. If you are really a good people person, you will enjoy that. But if you are not, you may not. So look at the company culture first.
Culture, absolutely. I love that, Anya. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your involvement with 500 startups. I know, like you are there as a mentor. Um, so it's kind of also, I know, maybe traditional question, but you have a very, I would say, uh, in-depth experience, Anya, in building products and all this. So from your perspective, when you speak to founders, what do you look in them? What do you look maybe in their product that give you the signal that, okay, you just mentioned moonshots, right? So what are like some of the signs that you see that you say, okay, these guys are up to something big, like is there like something that you feel it's a um, signs of a future big thing or moonshot as you described it?
I think some it's less about product and more about the person. And being a founder, when I started a company, I talked to one of our early investors, and he was early investor of Hello Kitty and founder of a Guitar Hero. I asked him, "Hi, I have these ideas, and people were have AI to pick clothes for them, and AI will recognize their images, and people can also share some of their schedules ahead of time, and then AI will pick perfect outfit to make them stand out, and they don't have to buy the clothes. You can try for a couple of weeks, so they don't have to think." And I asked him, "What do you think? Do you think it's good enough to start a company?" He said, "Every founder's idea at the beginnings are all wrong. So it doesn't matter what's your idea now, because you always start something that's wrong and then be iterated until you find the product market fit." And so he said that it's totally fine about what's right or wrong at the idea right now. And so it's all about the founder. And I can give you a few examples. When
Sure.
few months ago I was here, and a founder, it's pretty much 40 years old founder, not me, but he's visiting internationally to the Bay Area. And I asked him where he stay. He said, "Okay, tonight I'm sleeping in my car." So for being a founder, just like Elon Musk sleep in the factory for 3 years, there will be moments that your life is suffer. And so do you have enough drive to grind and get it through? Because the light is in the tunnel, but only if you can make it through, right? So I should tell people the story. Last year, I was in New York, and if I didn't make a post on social media, but if I did, it will be the pictures that I was sitting with a champagne glass, and I was sitting in a business class in a car, in a flight. So if I posted, you will say, "Hey, it was amazing New York trip," and then I got met with a lot of amazing investors and great partnership, and so excited for the future of Taylor. And the picture should be the champagne glass that I see in the business class. But in fact, why I have that picture? Because I was there for a couple of days. And then when I was going to conference, I was trying to find the cheaper ticket. So I wasn't able to get in for a lot of important events. So I have to wait outside for different days. And then everyone came out. So I will tell them, this is my business card. Let me tell you more about my company. And then one day it was like 100 degrees. So I was staying in my friend's apartments in the living room. It was super, like, was really thin walls in New York, the old house in New York. So I can hear people like walking around upstairs. I can hear them flash toilet upstairs. I can hear people outside talking, walking through the living room where I stay. So I pretty much didn't sleep for like 3 days because every night I couldn't really. It was a jet lag, was also very loud, and then it was 100 degrees outside. Because we stay in a friend's apartment, so I have to run to the train, and then I was bleeding in my nose. It was too hot, and then with my giant like laptop and also plenty of the material that I have to bring to a conference for my boots, I carry it for the whole day, meeting with different investors. And eventually, the night when I got out to airport, it was power outlets. So I waited there for 3 hours. I couldn't get on the flight. And when I was my turn, they told me that you have to get a new flights. We pay again for the flight ticket. I cried right away, like I don't have more money for my flight tickets. And eventually, a flight attendant say, "Hey, why don't you come tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock, and you can wait and stand by and see if there's any open seats. And if you do, you might be able to get on the flight for free, without buying a new ones." So I went the next days, and I was there, wait for another 3 hours. The flight has one more seat left, which was a business class, and that's why they gave it to me. So there will be a story behind while people might see the fancy champagne glass.
Absolutely inspiring story, Anya. Absolutely inspiring. Love this. By the way, people, if you are listening, we have another guest with Anya. Her cat is with her. So, um, usually mine comes and shout, but today he's quiet. So anyway, I love these stories. And, you were asking me about the show. These stories for me, and I hope it's for the audience, means a lot. It's not easy, as you said, whether when you are building the product, whether when you are fundraising, it's not an easy thing. And this is, actually related to the question I wanted to ask you next. What do you think people do wrong when pitching, or like sharing their vision with investors, or even sometimes, to convince some people to, let's say, come and join their advisory board? What have you seen people doing wrong?
Yeah, I think so. When I started, I think many times we were trying to sell instead of it will be a lot less opportunity if you, instead of selling to the person, you should be trying to see the connections behind the persons, right? Because 9 out of 10, many times, at least in the conference, like if you are a warm intro, of course, it's a different story. But if you are in a networking events and the guy say that he's investor, or a woman say she is an investor, 9 out of 10 probably is not the right person. Even though if you're the right company, probably not the right persons, right? So, and the same thing, if you are a CTO listening, you probably know like every day there's people trying to sell you something, and 9 out of 10, you are not the right person, or the product is not something relevant to you. However, you probably know the person who can buy the product, but you never really pay attention because the person was trying to sell into you versus trying to get the connections from you, right? So it's important to think about understanding what the person really care, what's relevant to the person, and then treating the person like, hey, I can help you, and how can I help you first? And then in return, now the person will pay attention to how can I help you? Now you can see what's the connection behind the person. And your job isn't, most of the time, isn't selling, is to train the person become the salesperson of your company. Right. So, I like when we were raising, we are looking for people who care about sustainability because we solve the problem that 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill and resulting 10% of carbon emission and 20% of polluted water in the world. And we are also looking for example, like the female leaders because they tend to see relevancies, or immigrants in the US because they see similar backgrounds and quality. And we're also looking for people with study abroad experience because my degree in Northwestern University and University of Chicago. So people who with those degree tend to be paying feel a little bit more relevant and to the founder. Or we are also looking for people who they have second generation, they are between about 20 to 30 years old. The reason they invest is because they want to bring opportunity for their second generation to learn. Or we are also seeing people who are interested in entering the US market, so they invest because they want to help their own company to find new opportunity in the US with the new era of this new era of tax, right? So like identify what's real motivation behind the person, see how you can help, and then from there now you get your time, and you will always have time to pitch once you build a relationship in the future.
Absolutely. This is something I think a lot of my guests repeated also as well, and 100%, um, you need to know how to present your story. You need to relate to people. You need to understand a little bit, the way they think. And of course, I tell people also don't take the no personal. Like maybe you should go and practice more, and and understand what's the best way. I call it storytelling. So how to tell your story in a way that people get hooked to it, and as you said, not go and sell them something, because let's be honest, I used to be in sales positions, and I know how much people they don't like to be pitched in a salesy way. They like people to come and tell them stories. So 100% on this. Now, within the, still the I would say raising capital, we know that capital is not easy, right? And especially in these, moments where we have like a little bit uncertainties. I'm optimistic, I'm positive, but you know, uh, what do you think, startups should focus on to stand out and survive, at least in the early stages, is before, they are ready to go for the big rounds, and, they will be like at least now in the scaling phase, they've built the product market fit, they found it, or let's say, so what they should focus in these early stages is if they cannot find capital to stay alive, I would say.
Yeah, I know it's saying is easier than doing. But end of the day, people invest because you are a great company. So if you really cannot find the capital, then back to your own business and look into how can you make your customer extremely happy. Because once you have an extremely happy customers, they retain, you have product market fit, the investor will come, right? They like just like if you are great talents, I'm sure recruiters and headhunters are looking after you versus you applying for those jobs. And it's obviously it's easier said than done because how can you build a great company when you have little capital? However, I think that we are also very lucky in the era of AI, right? So you see so many companies are building great products and just with very little human and very little capital. And I would say that probably focus. My mentor, he was founder of Rotten Tomatoes, and he talked about the story that when YouTube started, Yahoo was great and Yahoo was big. Yahoo have Yahoo Sport and Yahoo Finance and Yahoo News and Yahoo many things. While Google only had one feature, which is the box for search. But Google beat Yahoo, right? When YouTube started, YouTube founder is one of our investors. When YouTube started, that the only feature was upload video and find an audience. But they beat Google, so Google had to buy them. Right? When Meta started, the IG Instagram only had one feature, which is upload the pictures and have filters on. But it was so big that Meta have to buy it, and because you were afraid that it beat Facebook, right? So many amazing products start with just one simple feature. And when you see the startup comparison that usually you see, oh, company one have ABC, company two have DEF. So, and I have ABCDF. How is that possible? You're a startup, right? So it's important to look at you don't have ABCDF, but you have one of them and you do a lot better than anyone else. So take Taylor, for example. Our customers are not any guy. Our customers are guys who are not into fashion. We are a fashion company, but our customers are guys who are not into fashion. They are people who are CTO, recruiter, pastor, professor, sales guy, single guy, who are not into fashion, but they need to look good because they are socially active. And we know they don't want to look fashionable. They want to look presentable, professional, stylish, but not fashionable. We know they want to save time. We know they live US nationwide, but they have active social lifestyle. So by deeply understanding your customers, now you can provide a solution that makes sense for them. People ask us, why don't you launch like AR, VR try on? We can, but our customers are so busy and lazy. They don't even want to see what's a try on. They just want their human stylist and AI to pick the perfect outfit to make them stand out. They don't even want to try on. And so if knowing your customer, you will be able to delete a lot of stuff on the roadmap and then you will be able to fulfill them.
This again, it's a master class. I would call it, Anya, and it resonated with a discussion I was having a couple of weeks ago about almost the same thing, like focus. You mentioned it, like focus. And one article appeared, I think it was on LinkedIn, where someone was studying one of the secrets. He has many secrets. He used to have many secrets. Why Steve Jobs, was so successful launching product after product. And one of the secrets is like he was focusing on one product at a time or one single thing at a time and then moving to the next one. So, and the example goes like, of course, when he was younger, he started with the like computers. And then, of course, when he came back, he eliminated all the product line that Apple had. And he said, I need all these three products to stay, right? And then he focused only on these three products. And then, he came with the idea of the iPod, the music, like to disrupt the music. And then he focused only on the iPod. Then he brought the iPhone. So he was tackling them one by one. And of course, he decided to bring, let's build phones, tablets, everything. And I remember in one of his interviews, he was mentioning like actually the idea of the tablet was before, or the iPad was before the iPhone, but he want to make the iPhone successful. Then, tablets would come next. So this has resonated with me. And I think one of them, and I cannot blame, like first time founders. This is why I try to ask these questions. They need this reminder all the time. Find your one single use case which would be extremely successful, then try to scale later on. So thank you, Anya, for sharing also what you did at Taylor as well. Now I want to ask you something. You're a you are a woman in tech, right? So you are a female founder. And we talked about this on the show, and I know like maybe in the Bay Area we have like more women like you who are like founders also as well. But in general, how where do you see your responsibility to have like more women in tech in leadership roles as founders, maybe as product leads? So just want to have your point of view on this.
Yeah, I think this is not easy. I actually didn't feel that much when I was working for big tech company. They tend to do a pretty good job to make sure that we feel inclusive. Even though you do notice that when I was going to meetings for like annual OKR of site, for example, then I tend to be the only female leaders on the team. But it's still like the big company doing a great job. But it was a lot harder after becoming founder. I realized that only 1% of VC money goes to women, while 30% of tech company in the Bay Area were founded by a female founder, while 50% in the US actually founded by female founders in the US, but only 1% going to that. So it's really hard on being a female founder, especially on the capital side. However, I at one point I feel really sad. I feel it was unfair, and the world is not. I am not. I don't have the advantage, and actually big disadvantage. I actually thought about, should we have specifically looking for male co-founders or something to pitch to investors. We didn't. But what I found was, you know what? If only minority will stay on my side, then so be it. Then I go start pitching to female investor, talk to LGBT investor, talk to immigrant investor, talk to people who are French Americans, Nigerian Americans, and Chinese Americans, and British Americans. That there are millions of immigrants in the U.S. and millions of people with colors in the U.S. I can for sure find investors with that, or I can find investor outside of US too, right? So and there's still tons of they are female angels. They may not know they can be investor, but they don't know if small check like 25,000, they can actually make a difference for startups. So it's okay. Then I start talking to people who are Northwestern University alumni who never invest or have invested a little bit in the past, but never invest in startup. They invest probably in stock markets or cryptos or something. So we start talking to them. So I think once your mindset change, you feel less sad for yourself, less sorry for yourself, then you got the motivation back again, and you can now have opportunity to try again. And once you try, you will learn something new, and eventually you will succeed. And that's how we were able to get on 4BC behind us, and also with like amazing investors behind 20 unicorn like Spotify, Facebook, TikToks. And so, but it wasn't easy, but I'm still learning and adjusting it.
I love this. You're still learning. And this, everyone should stay learning, I would say, Anya. I want to ask you before we come to the closing. I know you have delivered a TEDx talk. Tell me a little bit more about it. How was that experience?
Yeah. Well, I did it twice, and the first time I did it, I was trying to memorizing my script because they said it will be really important that you do so, etc. And I was more of, my husband said like when he saw me, he felt like I was like a student who were trying to go on a like presentation, like hello everyone, da, da, da. So he doesn't feel like as nature as it could be more like conversation. And the second time, of course, the presentation I think was great because I memorized it, so I delivered the performance. Second time, I was just a little bit more open-minded. I still read down the script. I still memorize it, but I was just going with the flow, how I feel. It's a conversation between me and the audience. The topic was about how to continue going when you want to give up. And looking back to my career, or especially early career, when I was looking for a job out of college, it was 2008 when Lehman Brothers went bankruptcy, so there was no job anywhere. I will wait outside the building from other department because I couldn't get any interview for my campus recruiting event. So I will actually wait outside of other department of engineering school and journalism schools and history school. And then once a recruiter came out from other department, I would say, hey, this is Anya. This is my resume. And people say like, you are crazy. Where I will go to conference and I don't have money for the conference. So I will email the newspapers back in Taiwan and I say, hey, there's an amazing conference here in New York. Would you like me to cover story for free? And they say yes. And I'll email the conference and say, hey, I'm a reporter from Taiwan. Give me a press pass. And I got in the conference. Or I would bought all of the newspaper from newsstand and I calling each of the CEO because on the newspaper it shows who is a publisher, the name of publisher, and if you want advertise, call this number. So I bought all the newspaper and I call each of them and say, hey, I'm so and so. I'm very interested in learning more about your company. Can we set up a meeting? And I end up met with the CEO of New York Times, VP of CNN, and all of those amazing media company, which was my target company want to work for at the time. I didn't get any job, and people think I was crazy in doing so. But in fact, looking back, I was only doing things that I know. And I'm sure you know something that I don't know. So use what you know because I was a reporter before my graduate school. So the only thing I know was waiting for people outside. Only thing I know was covering a story. Only thing I know was calling someone because they was what reported this. But when I was doing those, I wasn't afraid because I knew how it worked. So the idea of that I'm not afraid was a motivation that keep me going instead of giving up. So I'm sure you who are listening, you probably have something that I don't know. You probably really good at something. So when you want to give up, think about what's your strengths, who is your connections, and use it. I'm sure the way that you succeed will be different from how I succeed. But once you use it, you won't be afraid. And when you are not afraid, you will have motivation to try again. And it's going to be the try again, get you to learn something new. And eventually you are not failing. You are just practicing success until you succeed.
Um, this again something very close to my heart that I keep telling people. I removed the word fail from my dictionary long time ago because I was thinking I'm failing. I discovered actually I was learning. And I tell people I never fail, I just learn, right? And you motivated people a lot today, and let me do like little bit from my side also as well. So another thing, because I hear it from people, oh, like it's too late, time, what can I do after all this time? I'm not young anymore. Like, I should have done this when I was in university time. So I give now example of myself and say, hey, look, like, let's say this podcast, right? So this is a dream that I had a long time ago. I delayed it, but look, I did it at the end, and I keep go and listen to the first episodes. Like I did it was horrible, I know, but I didn't remove that, and I was recording by myself. By the way, I was like the format was to be a solo podcast. I pick a, let's say AI, or I pick I don't know something, and I just put my 2 cents on it, and people they thought, oh, like he gonna give up, like it's like horrible. I knew this, but I said, you know what? This is not a failure. To your point, this is a learning, and actually, it was the biggest and best thing I did ever. Why? And I tell people this: the reason that I believe I'm still continuing this podcast. Of course, I'm lucky I have like now some community behind me. But the thing, Anya, is I meet you people like yourself who inspires, like who I learn a lot from. And really, I learned a lot from you today. And, your story is very, very inspiring. Thank you for sharing this. And you know what you're doing. And I love something, I have to be honest. Like, usually, when we talk, especially with founders like yourself, like, of course, you mentioned AI, but I like that you didn't just like say AI, you just focused on the problem you're solving. I love this. So thank you very much for sharing this. Now, before I let you go, where people can get in touch and learn more about, Taylor, and maybe learn more about and get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can find me on Anya at Taelor.ai. That's ANYA at TAELOR.ai. If you are software engineer, AI engineers, who are amazing data scientists and marketing persons, who are merchants and buyers, we are hiring. So just let us know. And if you want to help to save the environment, also look great as being the CTOs. And so then you can get on the show and talk to people and feel confident and ready for your day without doing laundry or shopping. And Taelor.style, that's TAELOR.STYLE. Use a code podcast25 to get 25% off for the first month.
Thank you very much, Anya. I really appreciate this. So thank you for being here with me today. Now, this is how usually I end. By the way, for the audience, you don't need to go and look for the links. Everything that Anya mentioned is in the show notes. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find in the description. And this is how I end my episode. So this is for the audience. Hey, people, if you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a favor, subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming again and again, thank you so much for doing so. Guys, like, I'm really humbled. I'm very transparent that we are recording this episode with Anya on 7th of May. As of today, for the first time since 2 years and a half, the podcast is ranking in the top 200 Apple Podcast charts in multiple countries. So this is cannot happen by itself. It's not because of me. It's because of you people who are supporting me. So thank you very much. And also, because all what you're doing, the podcast is being noticed. So just I received an email on the weekend that we were chosen by, top 100podcast.com. I'm going to put also the link in the show notes as one of the most influential podcasts in the tech startup space. And of course, they choose us for multiple, but this is the one that they asked me to tell about. So thank you again. Like without you, this cannot happen. I'm very grateful, very happy that I'm able with my guest like Anya to contribute, to encourage more people to become, entrepreneurs, or maybe to find, their passion in working maybe for a company they believe in their culture and their, social impact, same as what Anya is doing with Taelor. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.